Kiraithe, who's a government spokesperson. Thank you very much for your time. We also have Richard Tuta, who is an expert in homeland security, together with George Msamali, who's a security expert. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. So I'd like to start with you, spokesman, I beg your pardon, about this attack that we've had of in Pandanguo. Do we have any more information about what exactly happened and if indeed it's been confirmed that it's AlShabaab militia?
Now, the only thing I would want to say, Betty, is that we confirmed the attack was there. It was reported. The security agencies moved on the ground. They are analyzing the situation, and they will be able to share with us whatever information is available to be shared with the public as soon as possible. Due to the nature of such incidents and the complexity involved, we cannot actually talk more about it from the government side until we get a report from those directing the operations on the ground. We have also asked them, right from the ground, there are very many authorized officers there who can give a press briefing to give us a picture and the public of what transpired, how far the operation is going, and what police are doing so far, so that we reassure the public that the officers are on top. But of course, due to matters of landscape and due to the abundance of caution, so that you don't give inaccurate information, they are taking their time, it is understood, but we hope that in the course of the day, we shall have a comprehensive statement.
Okay, Richard, I'd like to hear your thoughts. We've had a lull, with this AlShabaab attacks, where it's been quite some time before we had one that is, of major concern. Does this come as a surprise?
One thing that we need to ask ourselves is that, is AlShabaab on the run or is it on the move? But if what the news that are coming in from Lamu is true that it was an AlShabaab attack, then that one calls for us to look at AlShabaab as a terrorist organization that it's still on the move, not on the run. Because the moment any terrorist organization is able to undertake an attack, then that one is an indication that, yes, they are still alive and kicking. And normally we don't look at a terrorist attack in terms of the quality or the quantity. We look at in terms of the number of deaths, for instance, because an attack can occur once, but the magnitude or the impact of it is more than it occurring severally.
All right. Yes. The spokesperson has said that, we're waiting to see exactly and to hear what exactly happened on the ground, George. But there are indications that there was a raid on a police post. It's not the first that we're seeing. Why are we still seeing this, these attacks on police posts, especially in that region?
If you look at the way AlShabaab have been operating lately, they are really concentrating their attacks on security installations. And if you look at Pandanguo, this is more than 40 kilometers from the border between Kenya and Somalia. And you'll find that we've heard reports that there's a lot of AlShabaab sleeper cells inside the Boni forest. And that is why a few days ago, even the Costa Regional Commander, Mr. Mauro, said that we need to bomb the Boni forest. So it's an indicator that there is intelligence that we have AlShabaab inside Boni forest. And I think a lot needs to be done to root these guys out of that place. And remember, as the spokesman has said, I have personally worked in that area, and the terrain is very difficult. And coming in the month of July, that place becomes swampy, and it's very difficult for the security forces to operate effectively in that kind of environment. So I believe that we need more intel-based policing in Pandanguo and the Lamu area in general, as opposed to being reactive. And if you look at the way these terrorists carry out their attacks, it means we might have insiders that are actually working with them, giving them accurate information about the dispositions of our police security forces, what is in place, so that they can actually go and plan an effective attack on these police installations and security installations. So I think this is a work of involving the locals in matters of security. It's very crucial. All
right. As we wind up, Kiraithe, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what some of the things that he said. And Nelson Marwa came out and said that there's a serious operation that is being planned. Is that in operation already?
What I would want to assure you and to assure the public is that no effort will be spared. And if you are hiding yourself in Boni Forest or wherever, there will be action and very serious action. The restraint you have seen in the government is because Al-Shabaab is a result of people misusing religious authority to create goons, to create buffoons, to create people who will go and celebrate their own death, to create people who will shoot and kill without any actually tangible cause. And since some of our citizens have been duped into this religious conmanship, we became a bit restrained. But at this point in time, and as we go to the polls, we shall not spare any force reasonable to bring this down, even if it means bombing that forest. So the regional coordinator was not out of tune. He was telling Kenyans what will happen. When you are dealing with a situation of this nature, let's remember that Al-Shabaab needs to be lucky once. We need to be lucky all the time. And I would therefore want to take this early opportunity to inform all our security agencies that the intel you hear from the IG, the intel you are receiving from other sources within government should be taken very, very seriously. Any and every security installation, any station, any place of public interest, let us remain very, very vigilant. The fact that Al-Shabaab did not come last month, last week, or yesterday does not mean that they cannot come this afternoon, and they cannot come 10 down the line. It has never been more true that the price of freedom is internal vigilance.
All right.
Our security services are equipped, they have been trained, and it just requires a high level of alertness, either to keep off the criminals or to deal with Al-Shabaab in a manner that none of them survives to come back.
All right. Yeah. Interesting. So we want to, let's just wrap up that and go into the election environment that we're in right now. And like you saw in the clip, NCIC yesterday comes out and says, you know, there are quite a number of areas where there's concern that there's likelihood that there's going to be violence after the August 8th poll. Same day yesterday, the Nairobi police boss, Japheth Koome, reiterates the same thing and also mentions other places, especially to do with slums, where, you know, they say that they're expecting there will be some sort of chaos. And it seems like it's literally like all corners of the country. Does that concern you? Let me hear the thoughts of my analysts.
There is, I am not against what was said, but how? Because the problem is that it might create panic all over the country, and they might transform this country into a panic country. And the fact that something has occurred before, it is not a justification that it will occur again. The fact that something has never occurred, it's not a justification that it will never occur again. Now, based on that in mind, what we should be asking ourselves is that which approach is our national security systems taking? Are they using what we call peace through strength? Or are they out to use strength through peace? Remember, strength through peace is a reserve of the religious. Those are the people who will say, no, they will pray and all that. But when it comes to national security, then it is called upon those who are in charge of the national security to use the strategy that I have mentioned earlier, that is of strength, peace through strength, which normally people refer to as, if you want peace, prepare for war. The moment you want peace, prepare for war. And you must indicate and you must show the indicators that you are ready for anything. But the moment the adversaries sees that there are some loose ends in our national security apparatus, then people will start arming themselves. People will start becoming sovereign. By saying that they will become sovereign is that they will start protecting themselves. They will start having militias all around.
But the fact that Japheth Koome came out and said that, you know, we already know that this, you know, these are the places where, you know, we're expecting some sort of chaos and we are well prepared to have heavy deployment in those areas. Isn't that what essentially should happen?
One thing that we need to ask ourselves, was it a warning or a distress call? To me, it sounded as if it was a distress call. It was not a warning. Because if you want to warn, you should warn in a way that will not create panic. Because at the end of the day, the next thing that now we are going to hear is some of some of the countries in the West now start issuing travel advisories. And you see, now it is different because the warnings are coming from government agencies. The warnings are coming from government institutions that are both charged with the responsibility of preventing and preempting.
All right. Musamali, what's your view on this? Should we know which places, could turn out rogue?
Betty, I think Kenyans, we are no better than a drunkard's cockerel. Every election year, we are quite unsure of ourselves. We don't know what will happen. And it's brilliant that the NSIC, the police are talking about hotspots. But if you look at history, we are talking about hotspots that have been there for 25 years. So what have you been doing about these hotspots? I've looked at the list of hotspots that have been given, and I remember from '92, all these areas mentioned today were still hotspots. And I think when you're planning for a security during elections, there are several things you need to look at. For example, what are the threats on security during election? And number one on the list is always identity conflict. We've seen that happening in Kenya. Secondly, we'll come at campaign conflict. You see people fighting each other during the campaign period. And what have we done about it? Number three is balloting. How are we going to ballot? Already tensions are high because people are saying, no, Al Ghurair should not print the ballot papers because we feel that these guys are going to rig the election through that. I mean, this is already raising temperatures, political temperatures in the country. And then after the balloting, we'll go now to the results. Will people accept the results? And why do we get there? Is number 5, representation. Because we've made elections a zero-sum situation, whereby people say that we are not in, then we are out. So it's a do-or-die contest. And this is why now you'll find that political temperatures are raising. So with that in mind, how do we plan for security during the elections? Because if you look at Kenya, what is actually happening is that we are polarized. We have balkanized the country into tribal cocoons. And everybody is saying that it's our tribe that is supposed to get in. And then we've had the NSIC saying that, yes, we have politicians who are inciting people, giving inflammatory statements, but we've not seen them taking action. None of these politicians that they are talking about inciting people has been arrested and taken to court. So at the end of the day, people will say, nothing is going to happen to me.
All right.
So let's plan. If we don't win this, then we have to cause chaos.
All right.
So I think the institutions that have given the responsibility of ensuring that there is no violence during elections, the police, and the NSIC are the same people that are blowing the whistle. This is something they should have taken care of before we go to this point.
All right. Since we have the government spokesman here, let's hear what he has to say about this. Should we know that there's trouble coming?
For once, you have a panel which is very professional in what they do, and who have done quite a bit of research. But one thing I would want, before I come to what the two institutions said and what ought to be done, which has been generally covered, is that our incitement, we have gotten so much into it that we don't even realize when we are inciting. And it even becomes very difficult to prosecute. Musamali has said a very strong statement. The strongest statement he has said, in my own opinion, given this situation, is that we have a zero-sum game. We are either inside or outside. Our tribe is either inside government or outside government. You know, this is the most inciting statement in Kenya. It is a large falsehood, but we are used to it. Let me give you an example. The government is saying we shall build SGR. Is there a tribe which benefits from SGR or which don't? Let's look at the big things the government do. We shall equip more hospitals. And when you look at even the equipment which has been acquired so far, has it been distributed to tribes or individuals? The answer is no. The government is saying we shall have a stipend for the old-aged people. They have been giving it out. There have been problems here and there. The government is saying we shall initiate a subsidy, for example, for UNGA to provide food security. We might say that it runs out in the supermarket once in a while, but certainly it is not for any tribal.
Okay.
we now have insecurity. It is not for any tribe or any individual. Now, when we perpetrate this falsehood continuously, we totally distort the government. And what we need to continue telling Kenyans is that there must be politicians who will lose. We have 9 presidential candidates, if I'm wrong. Only one will win. So in State House, there will be either one person.
The 8 candidates, yes.
The 8 will have to be out. It will not be about tribes. If government, the manifestos, everybody has said, we shall make education free to Form 4. It will not be for tribes. So what we need to look at very critically, it is the literature we continue to espouse. A lie has been created by politicians in all those areas marked who seriously fear that if elections are free and fair, they will lose. They have done their mathematics. They have done the Kenyans they have to deal with. Because if Kenyans are divided in tribes or defined through tribes or names like Musamali, Kiraithem, you can't do nothing about that. But telling them that if I lose elections, all of us lose, is the wrong literature, and it is very hard. Even those who have the best of intentions continue espousing that literature. Let me come down and tell you now, 2 government agencies, the police and National Cohesion and Integration Commission, have admitted that there is potential for violence. Because what you are telling people when you say it's a hotspot is that there is potential for criminal violence, for intimidation, for lack of respect for private property, destruction, malice, stealing, and all that. What from the government we are expecting these agencies to do is to distill that information. Those people who are organizing violence are using individuals to mobilize, to pass resources, to organize people now that our tribe might not eat, which is a very big lie. Because most of these politicians, if I can become a politician myself, I've been eating all our lives. I'm not the youth accord in Kenya today, I won't be in that meeting, except on advisory or consultancy capacity. These guys have been driving in good cars. They don't know unga, of course, and next when they are politicking, they don't even eat ugali. All our lives, we should ask ourselves how much of it we have shared. So what we need to tell the ordinary citizen, and the NCIC, the police, wherever they are, you must infiltrate into the community. Isolate these guys. Give us a list on time. For example, I would have expected that the Integration Commission would be telling us, in the areas they blacklisted, these are the guys to watch out for. We might not have built up enough evidence to take to court, but these are the guys we have identified. We are giving them 24-hour surveillance. They try any stupidity, they will be inside.
Are they empowered to do so?
So they are empowered. Yes. The interagency, every commission is entitled to support from the next security agent available. And therefore, giving the literature, and somebody pointed out here, without being very careful, because I don't know whether it's their presentation or the manner it was reported, that national agencies are saying there will be an outbreak of violence.
Trouble.
There will be trouble. So what stops the European Union from saying yes, yes, yes? What stops UK, US from issuing travel advisories? So those are forgiven. So what we are saying from the government side, and I know the National Police Service has been continuously preparing for this. If they adopt a communication strategy, then it must be a communication strategy, 1, that is deterrent, 2, telling members of public what to do.
All right. Interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts, especially 33 days to the elections. What the spokesperson is saying right now, there are great things that should have been done. They feel like they should have been done, before. it's just 33 days to the elections. NCIC should have mapped these people out who, you know, will be propagating violence or hate speech or any sort of chaos before. But right now, it seems that, you know, it's like they're starting from now on, and it starts 33 days to go.
One thing you realize is that political violence in this country has become a booming business. And until that day that the agencies that are charged with the responsibility of securing the state will come up with strategies on how to negate that. As long as it will continue being a booming business, every politician will run to it because it pays. Remember, it is only in politics where the end justifies the means. So the moment I realize as a politician that it will be very easier for me to ascend into a political office through violence, then I will choose that violence. And remember also that politicians are rational thinkers. They do a cost-benefit analysis of their action. What do I stand to get? What do I stand to invest? If the end result is better than what you stand to invest in that process, then you will invest in violence. The spokesperson have just talked about deterrence. This is an area that all these security agencies need to invest in. Deterrence is of two types of nature. That is, it can be by punishment or by denial. So how you punish may deter somebody else to choose political violence as a means towards an end. How you defend may make somebody a politician from where he sits also. Because as we are talking now, you realize that no one has been punished. And when we talk of that there will be violence, just as the spokesperson have indicated, there must be people organizing it. And wherever there are people organizing it, they must be communicating to each other, with each other. And this is now where the intelligence community comes in, because this is the only body that can intercept, can steal, or can buy that information.
All right.
When it is being communicated from one party to another. But now I don't understand the reason as to why these national institutions cannot come out and give names and say that we have every reason to believe that Tutor Richard is intending to use violence as a means towards an end.
So, Musamali, are we saying that, you know, this is a cosmetic way or approach that we're seeing, you know, the police take, that, you know, we have, because Japheth said yesterday that, you know, they have gadgets out there, they have people out there who are, you know, observing what's happening on the ground, but they don't have anything to show for it?
I mean, Betty, what we are doing here is that we are using a tried tactic to deal with the situation, something that we've tried and we're expecting different results. For 25 years, we've seen heavy deployment of security personnel to those identified hotspots areas. But the results has always been we've had violence. So what we need to look at, what causes this violence? What are the factors? And there are four factors, in fact, that cause this kind of violence. And the number one is voters in conflict with the state. Number two, the state in conflict with the voters. And then we have the aspirants in conflict with themselves, amongst themselves. And finally, we have a combination of the four. So what NSIC is not telling us is exactly, they have done research, what are we facing? Is it voters in conflict with the state in conflict with voters, so that you can come up with mitigating measures? And if I look at those areas that have been identified, look at the demography. These are cosmopolitan areas. Uasin Gishu has always been on the hotspot map from 1992. In Rift Valley, you come to a place like Molo. It has always been on the map. Nairobi, all these slum areas that have been mentioned have always been on the map. So for these years, what have you been doing to make sure that this does not happen again?
All right.
And I still go back to my point where I say that we are being told by politicians that this is a zero situation. Yeah? Whereby we need to have our person in State House. And what we need to do is that we should detribalize our politics in Kenya. Let all Kenyans feel that, yes, we are here, and the persons to deal with this are actually the IEBC. Okay. If the IEBC will conduct an election that will not look credible to the people, then you will expect violence.
All right.
So everything goes back to the IEBC. Kenyans need to have confidence with the IEBC, feel like we are going to have a credible election, and these politicians should say, if we lose, we accept we've lost fairly and square.
They've said that already. Final thoughts.
Let me defend my people. 2 points very categorically. We must give huge credit to the police. And what Kome said about gadgets and the fact that he has been using them effectively has borne wonderful results. Look at it this way. You have had politicians who are very worried that they have noticed police officers in civics undercover in their meetings. We are going to deploy even more so that you stop that festy utterance that you say today and disown tomorrow. By the way, we are piling this, and we shall use it, even if it means up to ICC. The next thing I want to defend the next institution, and they have been doing this very competently. I've been watching Kwamboka and Chebukati himself. I will not defend themselves on the details, but I will take Kenyans back a few months ago. This is a team we disbanded the other team. This is a team we selected. And the lead agents were religious leaders. Having realized that this team is very critical, we even sought divine intervention. We wanted people whose answerability is to God.
All right.
And I can tell you, by all standards, even comparing with the region and the others, IEBC has done a very great job. If there is a group of Kenyans choosing not to believe them, choosing not to believe they can lose effectively so that they go for violence, there is nothing Chebukati can do about it.
We have to wind up. We've heard you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, Eric Rede, the government spokesperson. We also have Richard Tuta, who's a homeland security expert, and George Musamali, a security expert. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. All right, so we want to continue with our coverage, and this time round talking about the same politics. And I have my colleague, Jeff Kirui, who's following up on the